Hi everybody, Russ and the West Ham Network. Hope you're all safe and well. It's Thursday. It's downhill now. We've gone past Hump Day, downhill, all ready to the weekend. Newcastle. We've got opposition chat. We've got previews. We've got the presser. We've got the predicted 11s. You can pick your predicted 11. So if you'd like to become a channel subscriber, hitting the subscribe button down there means in terms of you'll be made aware of any content we put up. Also, you'll be able to get involved in our conversation every week, where basically you pick your 11, so you can vote on who's going to be in goal, who's going to play left back or left wing back, that type of thing. We collate it all together, and then we put your 11 with our 11. We'll have the review, we'll have the watch-alongs, we'll have the highlights, all that type of stuff. We'll also have tomorrow night. We should have Irish Tommy on the Late Late Show. We'll have Your Say tomorrow lunchtime as well. We had the return of Holly last week, doing Tweet All About It, to keep an eye out for her and that particular show. So loads of stuff coming up. Now, obviously, transfer deadline has been and gone now, and it was a damp squib for West Ham. Us and Everton, probably two of the only relegated sides, or relegated threatened sides, rather, not preempting what's going to happen. Relegation threatened sides whose squad has actually got worse after the January transfer window. They got rid of Anthony Gordon. We got rid of people like Craig Dawson, Harrison Ashby, Longelo, although Longelo was already on loan, Pierre Egua. Several players have left. Darren Randolph as well, and have made the squad, less than it was at the beginning of January. And obviously, we can't sign any contracted players until the summer. We'll probably do a show next week about the players whose contracts expire. There are some interesting ones we could look at for the summer, but obviously that's very much in the balance, depending on if we qualify for Europe, we win the conference and qualify for Europe that way, or we stay in the Premier League. And there's lots of mitigating factors. But, it's good to look ahead and plan ahead. But also, the free transfer market is still obviously available, and there's obviously not as many restrictions in terms of who we can buy. And so I've scoured the free transfer market and have come up together with 5 players who I think could do a job at West Ham. Now, this is just my opinion, but obviously everything I look at now, I look at through Craig Dawson tinted glasses. So Dawson came in, we all were like, what the fuck are we signing here? All the Watford fans were laughing at us for signing their worst player. Turns out to be a cult hero. Signed a joker, left a king. I think someone put on Twitter once, which was lovely, and a really good way of sort of explaining his time at West Ham. So that's what I've done. I put together a list of 5. So let's start with the first one, and it's one that some of you may remember, particularly for his time at Man City. We've got Mangala. Let's go full screen. We've got Mangala, Eloquim Mangala. He joined Man City from Porto in 2014. Arrived as as Britain's most expensive defender in football history. That's since changed, obviously, but at the time he was Britain's most expensive defender. 8 years after that move, he's a free agent after leaving Saint Etienne in the summer. He's 31, so think Dawson's 32. He's 31, and should be in his prime, really, defensively. Playing as an experienced head in the back 4 or the middle of a back 3. Sort of the role that Ogbonna's doing, really. He could have a couple of years in that position, really, if he played well. However, it looks like his 6-month spell as a free agent looks destined to be extended somewhat. But yeah, could he still do a job? Quite possibly for West Ham, based on previous experience with Dawes. Another person, we've been crying out for a right back and right back cover. Atletico Madrid and Croatian fans will remember very fondly Simeon Vlasico, his battling performances in La Liga, Champions League, the World Cup. A really experienced defender, again 31 years old, so still has plenty to offer, even if it's only as a backup option at right back. But not just that, but his experience of playing at the highest level for both club and country. He moved to Olympiacos in the summer, and that's proved to be a bit of a disaster. His contract was terminated by mutual consent only 5 months into his spell there. We know the Olympiacos club is owned by the same owner as Nottingham Forest, who have signed themselves 29 players since being promoted. So there may well be an issue with the hierarchy at Olympiacos. We don't know, obviously, but Simi could, he's a good player, solid player. Could come in and just add a bit more quality. Obviously, the Red Bull model is going totally out of the window for these. But they're my suggestions, not Moyes' suggestions. My suggestions. Let's look at another centre back. Fans of Serie A will remember Nikola Milosevic. He is 31 again. Centre back. I mean, he hasn't had a club since being released by Genoa early this season. He's played for Napoli, Torino. Again, vastly experienced, particularly to a back line which has lost a big vacuum of experience now in Craig Dawson. I mean, he's an absolute unit of a man. And again, in working that middle three, potentially, with maybe an Laguerre and a Zuma either side of him, that is a back three I would not want to get involved in at all if I was a forward. Now, in terms of looking at the forward options, there's a couple of options. Yeah, I could have gone with Andre Ayew, as we've spoken about, or also former West Ham legend, I've used in abbreviated comments, Simeone Zaza is also available on a free transfer. But I went with Max Cruz, particularly because he hasn't been tainted by having played at West Ham already. But he could be a useful squad player. Released by Wolfsburg since November. Previously at Union Berlin, Fenerbahce, Werder Bremen. He's played European football. He's played German national side as well. This season he's made, I think, half a dozen appearances in the Bundesliga for Wolfsburg. Hasn't scored, but again, brings with him experience. Now, not to the detriment of someone like a Divine Mbama, because obviously he brings his youthful exuberance and pace and power. He's a wily old pro. He's coming to the end of his career, and it could be one last hurrah. But it's his experience, and I think that's something that we missed. Considerably, particularly during the first sort of Europa League conference. That's what I meant to. Where am I? Let me move myself. Particularly during the Europa League last season, we were playing against seasoned European sides who knew how to play the European way into the dark arts and stuff. And we were a little bit naive to that, and so it's taken us time to learn that and sort of understand what that means. And I think bringing people in like Nicola, like Max Cruz, for example, could give you that bit of intelligence internally, into the match intelligence for when we're playing these big European games, particularly towards the end of the conference reign, for example. And lastly, I've gone with a guy that some of you may remember from his time at Brighton, the Dutchman, Jurgen Locadia. Obviously played at Brighton, moved various clubs, able to play as a striker or as a winger again, so there's that versatility. He's 29, and he was at Iranian side Persepolis, but in December they cancelled his contract due to safety concerns with him, so he left the Iranian club due to safety concerns and is available on a free transfer. He's got pace, he's got power, he's not, I wouldn't say it's an upgrade to Antonio. He's a similar type of role to Antonio, and someone that you could look at and could come in and do a job, definitely. And I think the fact is he can play on the wing and up front means he's versatile as well. And that was my idea. Put a few together. Scour transfermarket.com. Let me know if I've missed anyone. There's loads of players in there, but also from a West Ham perspective, who would you put in there? I said we'll do a one about contracts expiring as well. We'll probably put that out next week sometime. But yeah, just thought something a bit interesting to look at because I know it seems that the world's caved in because we haven't signed anyone. There are options out there, and there's a very experienced options out there. Yeah. That's it. Anyway, take care, stay safe, stay warm. If you like it, give it a like, give it a comment. Pass it on to people. Become a channel member, become a subscriber. Subscriptions are free and they help us out a lot. So I really, really appreciate it. And until next time, my friends, take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith, enjoy your Thursdays. See you later. Bye-bye.